Nigeria is currently ruining the loss of two great colossuses, who have now passed on to the great beyond, one after the other. First, it was Pa Adebanjo, and the second, yesterday, we heard the passing of Chief Edwin Clark, leader of the Pan-Deaf. In a moment, we will be talking about the lives of these great men. They lived to very ripe old ages, 97, both of them, 96 and 97. They certainly lived their lives to the fullest, adding their voices to national discourse for as long as they lived, for as long as they had breath in them. What are the lessons that we can take away? These are some of the issues that we will be going on with this morning after this break. Please stay with us.
We will not compromise this principle of justice, equity, and inclusiveness.
One of the speeches of one of the founding members of Afenifere, Chief Ayo Adebanjo.
Presidency is not between the Igbos and the Yorubas. Presidency is a national thing for which the Awolowo taught us to be one. So it's not a question of anybody offending anybody. On principle, as I've said, on equity, Afenifere is for Jobi, Hood, Like, and Sinker. And I made it clear in our statement. Presidency is not between the Igbos and the Yorubas.
That voice will be missed in Nigeria's politics, and especially in the southwest region, with his passing. But the echo of his influence can be heard from the very beginning of Afenifere, when it debuted with Chief Abraham Adesanya as its leader and Chief Bola Ige as its deputy leader, and of Chief Ayo Adebanjo as one of its other founding members. From the outset, the agenda of Afenifere was clear: advance the cause of the Yoruba people of Nigeria. When the AD political party took office in 1998, its manifesto was an adoption of the Afenifere position. In 2008, a faction of the group emerged in Ijebu-Igbo with Chief Ayo Adebanjo at the helm, who installed Chief Reuben Fashoranti as the new chairman of the group, but which had some opposition to this move by other members of the Afenifere Renewal Group, ARG, who did not accept it. And while it may be difficult to isolate specific achievements solely attributable to Afenifere under Chief Ayo Adebanjo's leadership, here are some notable areas where the group has made significant contributions.
They left the baggage of the constitution, unworkable constitution, which they imposed on us. If you understand the problem of the constitution, that is embedded there. The question of running a unity form of government under a multinational nation is there. That's not what we inherited. So all the problems that are arising as a result of that is what you are having.
Afenifere, under Chief Adebanjo's guidance, has consistently championed the cause of restructuring Nigeria and establishing true federalism. They believe this will lead to a more equitable and efficient governance structure.
If you want to solve the problem now, where do we move forward? Go back to the constitution that brought us together. On the other hand, we have peace. Then we can move forward. Until you do that, no matter what you do, you'll be falling from one crisis to the other.
Chief Ayo Adebanjo is revered as a true federalist and elder statesman, a respected lawyer who served as a former organizing secretary of the Action Group and national leader of Afenifere. At 96 years of age at his passing, it's without a doubt that the story of the Yoruba people and its impact on a national scale cannot be told without the indelible contributions of Chief Ayo Adebanjo, the foremost nationalist and apostle of true federalism, in the vanguard of the Yoruba people. Olumide Macaulay, Channels Television News. Thank you for staying with us. Our conversation this morning is essentially to celebrate the lives of two great Nigerians, Pa Adebanjo and Chief Edwin Clark, who both passed on very, very recently. The issues that bind the two of them together, particularly in the area of restructuring and true federalism. Let's have conversations this morning with Chief Opadokun, who is the Secretary General of NADECO. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, sir.
Can
you hear me, sir?
Good morning.
All right. Good morning, sir. Well, I'm trying to imagine. Yes, sir. I'm trying to imagine how you feel about the news of the passing of Adebanjo and Chief Edwin Clark.
Well, for me, it is a momentous end of an era of those who really participated in the campaign for Nigeria independence and who worked as much as they had grace for Nigeria to become a land that is properly governed with justice, equity, fair play, and the rule of law. And the departure of the two of them at the same time within 1 week really, to me, was a major matter of concern. I thank God that they live full and independent lives. They were consummate nationalists who embodied the best that Nigeria hoped for and Nigeria should continue to aspire to achieve. For example, Chief Adebanjo, who at 43 was a Zikist, because Yoruba land, Lagos and Yoruba land remain a very liberal community of people where everybody is accommodated. And when Chief Macaulay, the student union movement and others, and the labor, established the National Council of Nigeria Citizens, NCNC, and Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe was the secretary, there was sufficient popularity of that party in the entire urban centers of Yoruba land. So Chief Adebanjo joined as a Zikist. But in 1940, 4 years thereafter, he had the inkling, and when the action group was packaged together, he became one of his first organizing secretaries, along with the likes of Chief Gani Olawale Daudu, under the managership of Chief S.C. Oredeyin. And they propagated egalitarianism, welfareism, life more abundant for the people. And from then on, he had been an apostle of everything that Awolowo philosophy stood for and still remain to be noticed up to today.
But one of the things
for Chief Edwin Clark.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
For Chief Edwin Clark, I knew him for at least about 40 years now,
And I've been to his home, in his little home in Delta State, to visit him on a number of occasions, not the Abuja one. I found him to be a very consummate politician, an activist of a kind, who gave his all for the interests of the ordinary man, particularly that area of the country that produces the greatest wealth of Nigeria in the last 50-something years, and which had remained ravaged, environmentally degraded, and who are the bearers of the dangers left over by all pollution and all mining prospecting in Nigeria. In these last years, he along with Chief Adebanjo and the likes, and with our leaders from the Middle Belt, they've gathered themselves together to work for an egalitarian society, to work for the emancipation of Nigeria from the clutches of dictatorship which the British oligarchy imposed and foisted upon us when they were forced to leave Nigeria. So I believe that Chief Adebanjo lived a landmark which would be difficult to erase. For me, one of the things that will remain indelible with me is the act of courage and industry of Chief Adebanjo. He was never found wanting.
Yeah, you know, sir, with respect, it's one of the things that a number of people will say about the two gentlemen is that in their peculiar ways, even though their approach differed, it would seem like they're both united on certain cardinals. For instance, issues around federalism is something they all shared. Issues around the call for restructuring is something that they both shared. What is your take on that? And in your response, could you please factor in the fact that whether or not, as a nation, we actually listened to them, or that we are moving in the direction of what they both fought for over the years, or we are just ignoring them?
Thank you very much. Well, my take on the two. First, on federalism. These were the last set of people that I know that are still relevant who participated in the campaign for independence of Nigeria. And because Nigeria is a country of heterogeneous people with different religion, different languages, different traditions, different customs, different artifacts, different folklores, different mores, different morals. There was an agreement between Nigerians and the British colonialists that the only constitution that can guarantee a free reign of these diversities that I've mentioned and can still live together in one place is federalism. And so they agreed upon that. And that was what we, upon such federal constitutional arrangement, Nigeria secured independence. It was the military that wickedly, treasonably overran and staged a coup against the civilian government of Alhaji Abubakar Tafawa Balewa and imposed a unitary centralist government constitution on Nigeria, they disbanded and abrogated that negotiated federal constitutional governance. And that has been the cause of our national crisis. So if Chief Edwin Clark and Adebanjo remain committed to it until the left, it should be understood that until Nigeria restore itself to the constitution upon which we secured our independence, we can never have it, we can never take off. We remain a country, not a nation. It is not coincidental. Nigeria remains a country of opposites. We export what we don't have in democracy. We import what we have, petroleum. I cannot understand a country of this nature given the gargantuan quantity of godly endowment of Nigeria, both human and natural resources, and yet we are living, over 70% of our people are living in abject poverty. The level of extreme deprivation that Nigerians are going through are unwarranted, and there's no basis for it if you have gone ourselves properly. I admit that for the first time, somebody is in government who has both economic and financial knowledge and understanding, and is taking some measures to right the wrongs that the military had imposed upon us for over 40-something years. Remember, in their first and the second outing, 13 and 15 years, 28 in uniform, in Agbada, 8 plus 8, Obasanjo's 8, Buhari's 8, 16 plus 28, almost about 40-something years out of our so-called independence. The military had ravaged Nigeria. We must return to a federal constitutional governance upon which Nigeria secured its independence. That's why the two of them are united in heart and soul and body. And they fought for it until they went. I've listened to a lot of so-called patronizing eulogies, tributes being paid to them, inclusive from people who are state apparatus, state agents, state personalities. If they so much believe in what these people were represented, why have they not taken measures for us to return to federal constitutional governance? And we are still wallowing in a very prohibitively costly, irresponsive, and irresponsible government called executive presidential system.
Okay. Well, you know, one of the things that I've heard you say, and which rings very, very, loudly in my mind. I just said, therefore, if you can hear me, sir.
If they are truly ready,
yes,
for if they understand the implication of what Adebanjo and Edwin Clark were doing, let us take measures to restore our country to a federal constitutional governance.
That leads me, sir, to some of the things that you said earlier about them in the early days, in their early days. Both of them were part of the pre-independent Nigeria. Definitely, they must have been very, very young at the time. And it would seem like the politics, if I can put it that way, of the day allowed them as young men to express themselves, to be a part of the process. How would you say we are doing in that regard today? It would seem like these days the young don't seem to have as much a voice as they heard, as the young people had when Chief Edwin Clark and Adebanjo were much younger in pre-independent Nigeria. Is there a lesson to learn from that time and this time? I know there are two different eras, but what do you see about that?
Well, the unfortunate thing that I need to again restate is that the military and totally undermined the growth, popularization of democracy, democratic features, and civilization. They did not allow Nigerian democracy and political and politics to grow. I've never seen a country like our own where the military behave throughout the time they were officers as army of oppression, army of occupation, because everyone needs to learn a trade before you can be a master. They won't ask a carpenter to go and drive an armored car. You won't ask a tailor to go and conduct and do surgery over anybody. Politics is about argument, it's about discussion, but for personal, selfish reason, the military politicians in military uniform had overrun Nigeria, and so they made it impossible for younger people, for the elderly ones, to pass on the torch to the younger ones. You remember what General Buhari did? He called respectable leaders of our people all over the country, called them discredited politicians. And when General Babangida came, he called his own new breed, which for all intents and purposes were new breed. So they undermined democracy in Nigeria because they didn't want the democracy to grow. They wanted to continue to roughshod over us. And for all intents and purposes, they've succeeded. I dare say that as it is, any society that is unlucky to have been so ravaged by the military, everything within such geographical entity becomes part of the spoil of war. All of us have been part of the spoil of war of the Nigerian army. Ask yourself today the question, who is a rich man today in Nigeria? If he's not a military man, he must have been made by the military. And they totally undermined public institutions to the extent that those public institutions are of no use any longer. No longer. Nigeria today cannot declare itself that this is my national ethos, this is a national standard, this is the national objective. Anything goes in the country. I just hope that with the death of these two elderly people who are revered, that we will start to reorganize ourselves. Perhaps it will spur us into action. The younger people needed to understand that Rome was not built in a day. The lust for power and money at all costs is not to be preferred. My Bible tells me in 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 6, that godliness and contentment is a great gain. In verse 7, he said, for we brought nothing into this world, and it is certain that we shall take nothing out. Let's not our young people be so much committed to materialism that there's much more thing ennobling for which people should aspire to reach and work for in life.
But talking about preparation of young people, it would seem like while the two of them were growing up, they had opportunity to grow, they had opportunity to be included in the scheme of things, they had some kind of preparation. Do you see a situation where we can create the same environment for growth for young people in Nigeria today? What are the gaps that you think we need to fill as a nation, be it at the federal level, the state level, or even the local government levels, and even at party politics levels, so that young people, more intelligent ones can come in, demonstrate their skills, and help build a better Nigeria?
Like I just said a while ago, the army had undermined the normal run of things.
I understand that, sir, but you know, now
most of these young people you are talking about 50 years below
Just 1 second, sir. We've spent about 20-something years. My apologies. They've spent about 20. We've spent about 20-something years in this Fourth Republic. So the military hasn't really been in control for a while. And the people who are running Nigeria now, so to speak, it will seem like they've had some 20-something years experience doing that. So we must have learned a thing or two.
Please, don't bring people like us into that kind of funny discussion. Which democracy? These characters in power today, are they not surrogates, loyalists, sympathizers, acolytes of the military? Where did they come from? Where were they when we were going to jail for the restoration of democracy in Nigeria? 98% of them were military apologists. They never knew nothing about democracy. So those ones are not willing really to learn anything, because all that they knew and they still want to do is to hang themselves around one military top shot, retired or still in uniform, that can assist them to get into high political office. They are not ready for training. We need cautious efforts at different areas of the country to remind our people that we have lost it. First of all, the British, the colonial master, were so wicked in what they did to us. They decided to deny us to use our traditional languages to pass on education to our people. Between 1843 and 1848, the missionaries that followed them to Nigeria pleaded with them to allow Nigeria to use their traditional language to teach their students. The colonial officers refused. And what has become of that? Today, Nigeria is the biggest English-speaking country in the whole world. Yet, our own languages are getting extinct gradually. A Yoruba child from the womb is being taught to speak English. If you speak Yoruba, it says vernacular. You are even punished in primary school and the secondary school. And when they are growing up, they take them to creche, to primary, to nursery and primary. Many of them can speak the run of it, but ask them to write it down. They cannot write the thing down. So we are facing multiple jeopardy as set down and forced upon us by these wicked colonialists called Great Britain. We have not come out of that. So our people, our leaders, they must take the mantle of wanting to restore society. Our tradition, our language, our custom ought to be revered. We must go back to make sure that we put on every effort to restore the dignity and respectability of our tradition, our language, our custom. That is when we can start thinking up of building up anybody for political activity.
Interesting.
When now, Chief Awolowo and Co.
My apologies, sir, because we're running out of time. I just wanted to ask this one last one. Now, with these two gentlemen, as you have said, no one can remonstrate how greatly they have impacted us as a nation. Just this one last thing, if you can do it in about 60 seconds, sir. How best do you think we can remember them, honor them? How best do you think we can honor the memories of these two gentlemen?
The remaining Nigerian leaders and the government of President Bola Tinubu should take immediate steps to bring about the processes for restoration of Nigeria to federal constitutional governance. Much is beyond constitutional review. This executive presidential system is prohibitive, very irresponsive, and very irresponsible. the parliamentary system is economically comfortable with the state of our economy. The executive presidential system is practiced only by the United States of America, the biggest economy in the world. What is the economic status of Nigeria? We don't have the thing. We are spending over 80% of our total earning, total income on the current. That's not the kind of thing that can help us. So my take is that what we can use to we can do to remember these people is for the federal government under President Bola Tinubu and all strata of our society, the South people, the Eastern people, the Western people, the Middle Belt people, the northern part of the country, to gather themselves together. Let's return Nigeria to a federal constitutional governance. When we had it, there was development, there was progress that remained unmatchable.
Okay.
Most of what remain today are the things that our leader did in the first and the first republic.
We have to thank you very much for your time this morning. I know that you really yet to get over the news of the demise of these two gentlemen, and we commiserate with you as well as many other Nigerians. We commiserate with ourselves on the loss of these two gentlemen. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Opadokun is the Secretary General of the National Democratic Coalition. We appreciate your time today.
Thank you.